Yeah, and I think that there's some people that are definitely, I would consider myself probably liberal to left, but definitely have some moderate views as well. And I think there's some folks that definitely can relate to some of the decisions that were made and can have some sympathy for some of the Republican leadership necessarily. They might not necessarily like the one that's currently in office, but they can definitely see some things that Bush did. And there's even some things that I'll even go as far back as dating myself, Nixon. There were some things that he did business-wise that I thought were very wonderful. You know, he definitely was stupid in terms of Watergate in my mind, but you know, in terms of supporting our businesses, I can say that he actually did have some initiatives that were aimed at trying to help minority businesses during the time that he was in office. So there have been some people on the other side of what I consider myself that I could at least see some of what they were trying to do and might understand it and even support some of it. But you know, as a general rule, they're not my favorite people, but in terms of their politics, but I can definitely support some of what they did. Now, coming to that, though, and I want to go a little bit full circle, but you also got involved in politics to some degree because you were working with a Buffalo person. I believe it was the first.
I did. The first African-American mayor of the city.
Okay. So that's been the first.
I was in law school. You have to understand, I left Buffalo and, you know, I had my career in the military. I was only coming back for law school. I needed some family support in order to get through law school. I was only coming back for that, and I just kept telling myself, I'm not going to stay in Buffalo. I'm not going to stay in Buffalo. I was here for law school and literally met this black man who was on the campaign trail who said he was running for mayor. And in my mind, just knowing Buffalo, knowing the history of Buffalo, how segregated Buffalo was when I was growing up, I said, you know, this man's crazy. They're not going to elect him. But he said send him his resume, and he was a state senator at the time, so I did. Well, to my surprise, he got elected, and he remembered me, and he called me. And I spent pretty much, he is still in office. I left last year, the end of last year. So I was with the mayor. I was with Mayor Byron Brown for about a little over 12 years for all of his terms, and it is to this point. I've had some of the best learning experiences of my life. Learned a lot politically. Got involved locally, politically, obviously. 2 elections, re-elections, and also to come full circle, to use your term. It allowed me to be a part of policymaking to help people on the East Side where I grew up and that were experiencing some of the same things as a result of poverty that I was growing up. So it was really emotional for me to leave, but an opportunity came up. I couldn't pass up, but I learned so much, and it was just really an honor to be able to work with him.
Yeah, you know, it's really been amazing just watching some of the political things that are going on these days and everything. Because I was actually just thinking about how I was talking to Dean before you got on the call. We just had a film festival at one of the cultural centers that I work at and everything. And they were actually following, I believe it was with the gentleman in Virginia who was running for state senator. He actually lost his election and everything, but they were following him on the campaign trail. And I was thinking my mom ran for Secretary of State back in 94, I believe we figured out when we were having a conversation a couple of days ago, and she ran for Secretary of State, which is a state office, and some of the same issues that I imagine your candidate went through, some of the same issues that this senator went through, that I think he was running last election, so that would have been 2016, were some of the same issues in terms of building your coalition, in terms of people making promises and not following up on the promises, and just all these other kind of road blocks that happened to particularly our candidates that were happening back in 94, and even if we want to go back to Shirley Chisholm when she ran for president, we're back in the 70s. So it's just amazing that these roadblocks are still in place, and we're supposed to be in a new millennium.
Yeah, Shirley Chisholm is my soarer, was my soarer, and you're absolutely right, but we're still dealing with them. And one of the things that I think are prevalent is what I call the double standard for people of color and people who are not of color in terms of holding people accountable or the things you will look at. There are certain things that current elected officials who are not of color that they do, that if it was a person of color, especially a man of color, was doing it, there would be no way that they'd be able to still be in office and still have the support that these people have. So there's always a double standard. My grandmother used to always say to me, we can't do what they do. And I never quite understood it until I got a little older in politics.
Yeah, I'm thinking about even like the current person sitting in office that there's been tweet storming left and right, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, if somebody else had tried to do, like even the one that whose office he took, if they had tried to do that many Twitter accounts, there would have been all kinds of uproar. And he does it. It seems like he tweets just about once every 15 or 20 minutes. I don't know who's doing all his tweeting. It can't be him, but
well, you can clearly see he's doing all his tweeting. I love the one from today where he said, "Save the date, July 4th. There's going to be a huge celebration that you've never seen before," and people were just making fun of him, like, "Save the date, December 31st. We are going to celebrate, New Year's Eve," as if we don't have those things on our calendar. So, but and we have to go even beyond what he said, because what he actually said was, save the date. We're gonna have entertainment. We're gonna have food, fireworks.
and we're gonna have me.
Me, the greatest, your favorite president.
Right, your favorite president, me.
February 30th, man. February 30th is Donald Trump Day. Come on, get it right.
I love it.
But when he said it was everybody's favorite president, I'm sitting there going like, you've not been listening to that many tweets or following other people's campaigns, because I don't think so. But
but also he said, and there's going to be fireworks, as if we haven't had fireworks the last 242 years.
Yeah, exactly. Fireworks are part of
Yeah, exactly.
But he's doing something brand new, according to him. Now, you mentioned Buffalo, and you mentioned it as being somewhat of a segregated place. Now, like I said, I've never been to Buffalo, but I do know some people that are in other parts of the Northeast, and that's the conversation we always have between the South and the Northeast. Like, I've even got some relatives that are from Boston, and we don't even want to talk about Boston's politics and some of their racism history and everything. But I think sometimes people forget about the fact that, yes, the North and the South fought in the Civil War, but there was racism, even historically speaking, in the North, and sometimes it was more of that institutional racism, which in my mind is even worse.
Oh, definitely. And I think that what people don't look at is when you you look historically at the migration from the South to the North, yes, there were a lot of, including my own family, who came from Alabama up for jobs at Bethlehem Steel here in Buffalo, but while the big factories and the industrial plants wanted the labor, there were definitive laws that were even put in place. Like, you can't live here. You can live here, but that's the only place you can live. You can't live here. So we want you to come up and we want to exploit you for your labor. I actually wrote an article when I was in law school that was talking about the 4 institutions that have been put in place to systematically institutionalize the inferiority of blacks. The first one being slavery, second one being Jim Crow, the third one being this illusion of the northern opportunity, which is actually the northern ghetto, and then obviously the current one being the prison industrial complex. But I've lived in Buffalo. I traveled to cities down south that are less segregated than some of our northern cities, and we have issues all over the place. But one of the things that I speak about sometimes is that sometimes the segregation is self-segregation. Because I was going to when you named the 4, I was actually thinking of a 5th one, because the 5th one is we are still caught up. I'm looking at your picture because I've got my computer lined up, and I'm a light-skinned, as like your own complexion and everything, and I'm looking at that picture and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, well, we do the whole skin tone thing as well, and then sometimes we also get caught up in, not just the skin tone, but in the entirety of our heritage. So, because I have some relatives good hair, bad hair.
Good hair, bad hair, whether you're Indian or not Indian, because I've got some family members that claim to be almost strictly Native. As far as they're concerned, they're only Native.
Right. And you have a lot of that. And unfortunately, we have our history internally, but sometimes we segregate ourselves and sometimes we categorize ourselves. And categorizing is one thing to be a cohesive cultural unit, but it's another thing when you don't interact with people from other areas.
Exactly. No doubt about it. Dean, did I hear a bell?
Yes, sir, you did.
Don't go anywhere, Crystal, because I'm enjoying the conversation, and we still got an hour to go, but we have other guest callers, so let's see who else is calling.
Okay.
All right, we're going to bring the next person in just 1 second.
Are you enjoying the smoothest conversation in podcasting? Straight Talk with Dean and Mark. Hi, this is DJ Smooth Jazz, syndicated radio host and co-owner of Portfolio Group LLC, your smooth jazz lifestyle and entertainment group with offices in Durham, North Carolina. Portfolio Group LLC specializes in promoting the lifestyle of smooth jazz listeners with the promotion of smooth jazz events and the distribution of African American owned wines. For more information, portfoliogroup.llc.com, or you can swing by my secondary site, djsmoothjazz.com. Now back to Straight Talk with Dean and Mark.
All right, now we're going to bring in Mr. Wayne Adams to the show. Good evening, sir. Thank you for calling Straight Talk with Dean and Mark. You are now on the line.
How y'all doing?
I'm doing good.
Right.
Wayne
no problem, Mr. Adams.
Name, and mine's actually Wayne Thomas Adams III, but everybody calls me Trey, so that's what I would like to be called. And I probably should have said that to y'all in a message, but it's all good. It is all good.
Well, we appreciate you calling, Trey. And Trey, you know, we always love having different people call in, and we were actually talking to Crystal, who is also a motivational speaker. And I know part of what you do is you talk about motivational speaking as well. So if you'll just share with us a little bit, and maybe we can find some common ground as to how both of y'all are motivational speakers, as to how you got into motivational speaking. And like I told Dean earlier, we mostly have callers from what you would probably consider the liberal or the left spectrum, but we try to have a little bit of everybody, and I know that you also are a proud Republican member, so if you just share how you got into motivational speaking.
How do you know I'm a Republican?
I do my research.
But I don't have anything about my politics anywhere unless you delve to how I'm registered. I vote for whoever I think is going to do the job. I don't care.
I know that's right.
If they dress in a rainbow suit, if they're going to unite the United States, that's what we need. We need to find somebody that's going to say, hey, look, it's the United States. It's not all of this other stuff. We need to find somebody that's going to bring us together, because right now we're so divided it's not even funny, and it's sad that we have let this happen to the strongest country in the world. We've let, because of whether you're an R, a D, an I, what have you, has determined what's happened to our country, instead of saying, hey, look, it's us against the world. We've got to educate our children. We've got to teach them to read and write. We've got to teach them to add, subtract, multiply, and divide. We've got to make our country stronger by whatever means necessary. And that's what got me into motivational speaking. I teach special education students, and I don't have enough education to talk to either one of y'all. After hearing y'all talk about going to law school, I could go to L. That would be it. That would be as far as I could get in law school. I probably would not even qualify on the LSAT to go to Billy Joe's Bar, Grill, and Law School. But anyway, I don't take I test well. You were talking about what got me into it. As I said, I'm a special ed teacher. I started working at inner city schools. Then I moved to an elementary school where we have over 20 or 24 different countries represented. I counted them the other day because we have them on above the door as we come into the school. And I want to say it's either 20 or 24 different schools. So that means we have 20 to 24 different cultures. We have 20 to 24 different languages. And that's what got me into it, is I've got to figure out a way to motivate these kids to say, okay, I'm going to make something out of myself. I'm going to become something. I'm going to do something. I'm going to make a difference. And that's what I wanted to do. That was the way I was raised. My parents are like, if you can't neighbor, how can you help yourself? If you're not going to help your neighbor, then there's no sense in you doing something for somebody across the country or across the world.
That's real true, and it seems like that's what a lot of folks are trying to do, is solve the problems, and haven't even got around to solving the problems on their local level, much less on a state or national level, and then they're trying to go and dictate in other countries and things of that nature. I've think sometimes we need to stay out of other countries' politics